Welcome back to another episode, Backyard Builds. This week, we're going to actually mount the motor and transmission in the F100. So, I've opted to go with an OEM style mount. So, they're a rubber mount, very hard to actually find in Australia and for a decent price. So again, Rock Auto's been unreal for this project. So things like suspension bushes, engine mounts, transmission mounts, alternators, starter motors, everything I've purchased through Rock Auto, very reasonably priced and good delivery time. So what we've got here is a West Star. It's a C6 mount to suit a T-Bird. So very similar to what is on it. We're going to run with this style. Chances are I'll probably end up buying a second one of these. So for that mount, it was like $12 Australian and about $10, $20 delivery. So what we're going to do is we're going to make very similar to the boxing plates we did for the engine, so they can slide into the rails. What we'll do is we'll put captive nuts in them and then mount them into the rail, weld them off. Just gives that a little bit more rigidity and strength around that transmission mount. And then we'll put a bar across the two and we'll make up a mount to suit this. Got a massive storm coming through now, so this is a good inside job. I'll make all this stuff up. When the rain's gone, we'll be able to put it in. I suppose that's the joy of actually doing a actual backyard build outside. Unfortunately, I've put myself in a position in here with the chassis table that we can't actually put the car inside as much as I'd love to. I'd be able to work on it as much as I wanted to, but that's in here and it's not at a stage to move out. I really need this done, so we're going to get the F100 going and then it's hammer and tong on that. So today's episode, let's mount up the engine and transmission. So went out and measured it before the rain set in. It's 140 mil, so what we're going to cut is 2 strips at 140. But first we're going to actually use one of my most favorite tools in the shed, scratch gauge. My tradesman actually gave me this. We actually made one at Tech as well. Essentially what it is this is a drill bit. It's been sharpened and a block on the back. So what we can do is actually set our depth by sliding this rod through. It's going to go 140. Just give it a little bit more, just to make it corner to corner. What that allows us to do is now run the edge and scribe a line. I have to do it a little bit harder, but it makes a terrible noise, so I won't do that to you guys. Just going on with these gearbox cross member. What we've got is some plates out of 4mm. So 4mm is more than enough for what we're doing. We'll use a 3.2mm tube. So realistically you're only as strong as the material you're welding to. So this is going to be bolted to 3mm, which is bolted to 4mm. So 3mm is the weaker link, so it's our lowest thickness. So 4mm for this plate is going to be fine. There's no need to over engineer it. So what I did was as you've seen, cut them out square. I then used the grinder nut to mark out the corner. Scratch gauge to mark in 20mm. Grinder nut's about 40mm, so 20mm. So that's the same distance all the way around there. Ground the radius in, drill the holes on the drill press, then just use a little countersink to just break the edge of the burr off and get exactly what we're after. So we've done that twice. I actually made two because there's two sides of the car, funnily enough. What I've done here is I've used the scratch gauge again, and I've marked out my 53mm. I've marked the center, and I want 150 through here. So what that does is allows me to actually measure the inside of our 45mm fold. So it measures out at 76mm. So what I'm going to do is now cut these down. So I'll add 76, 150, 76, and then that'll give us two plates to weld in. So I'm going to drill these 3mm boxing plates while they're still flat before we fold them. So what I've done is just mark out some crosshairs with the scratch gauge and mark the center of the plates. So what I've done is I've already drilled one hole in both of them and just got a quick grip C-clamp on them. Then what we're going to use is what they call a transfer punch. So what a transfer punch is, these little things here. So what they do is they are stuck in the holder. No, they're exact diameters of holes, and they've been sharpened to a point, so they're like a little center punch. What you do is align it in the hole. It actually aligns itself, so it's always centered. Give it a big whack with a hammer, and then you've got the center of your hole, and everything should line up. So I'll go through and do that now to all of them, and drill them out, and then put some nuts on the back like that, and then give them a quick roll. I'll do that now. So I just folded these up. So I thought I'd talk about a couple of the tools that I used. Digital angle finder. So this one's just a cheap one from Bunnings, set to 135 degrees, which essentially is what a lot of people would class as a 45-degree fold. As you can see, bang on both ways. So digital angle finder, really good to find angles. Can be used in conjunction with the sliding bevel from the last episode. The other one was a digital angle box. So essentially, turn these on and tell you what angle. So I put it on the front of the apron of the pan brake, and then just watched it come up and sort of knew where to go to. It was about 132 degrees. Just a little bit of spring back there. So went to 42 degrees on the digital box. The only problem is it's a little bit slow to keep up, so you've really got to come up slowly on it, and when you're folding 3mm, that's a little bit hard. But here we are, two the same, two very close to being the same. So one left, one right. Weld some nuts on the back of it now, and I'll show you a little trick for that. So the little trick I like to use is actually countersunk bolts. So what that allows us to do is it actually pulls concentric in the center of the hole, so the nut's going to be perfectly in line. So if your hole's a little bit big, I drill 10mm holes for a 10mm bolt. If your hole's a little big, it does pull the nut center. So we could actually use an M8 here if we wanted, with a 10mm hole, so that'll give us a mil clearance. Also, what I like to get is untreated nuts. So these are just mild steel. You can also get them in black, which is like an oil. And unfortunately, I don't have 8 tonight. It's nearly 9 o'clock, so I'm not going to get them. And Saturday. we've got zinc. So a little trick for welding zinc is I'll weld these last because the zinc will pop and carry on, but I'll hit it with stainless filler rod. So if the puddles are more pure metal, it's not going to pop and carry on, so that's what I'll use there. But I'll set these up, I'll weld them now, and probably call it for a night. So just to give you a little point of difference with the zinc, as you can see on the end of that tungsten, there's a little bit of a ball. That is from where the zinc popped back. Also, see how it's really dirty and black right around the weld? That's from the zinc burning. So those two nuts are zinc, these two nuts are not. As you can see, they're quite clean all the way around, but the zinc pops. There's really another reason why when doing like rust repairs and stuff, we don't use zinc steel. Cold roll's the closest thing to what the cars actually come out of the factory with, and it's a much better alternative than trying to use zinc, because the zinc actually impregnates, makes it hard to weld, pops, and actually causes porosity. So I actually ran a little bit higher on the amps than I normally would, and as I said, punched in some 316L stainless filler rod. Dissimilar metals aren't going to matter in this case, but it does help keep that puddle clean and tries to eliminate the zinc essentially boiling and popping. So it will pop and splatter. It's like a MIG when you weld it. But yeah, they're the results. They're done. It's 10 to 9, and the next thing I want to do is actually a little bit loud, so I'm probably not going to push my luck tonight. Probably call it here and get at it again tomorrow. So I fabbed up those little pieces last night. It's now the next day. We're back into it again. So I ran a tap back through the nuts that we ordered just to make sure that the threads were clean, bolted the plates up, and they're sitting in the chassis now. So we're just sitting in there for the time being, because we're actually going to put the motor and box back in to determine where the location of those are going to be. To put the motor and box back in, we actually needed a gearbox mount. So here's our rubber mount from Rock Auto, and here is what I've come up with this morning. So it's just some 3mm bright form. It's been notched out for 1.5 inch tube. That's what I've got a lot of. I think I'm going to have to put a bend in it, so I'll actually get out the tube bender to do so. But as you can see, straight through, we'll bolt him off, bolt them to the box, and then ascertain where we need to be. So while I've been doing that, Dad's actually been really hard at work, so we'll go out and have a look at what he's done. So Dad's gone through this morning, and we had a little bit of a problem with the stub axle. The stub was really tight, and the kingpin was turning with the stub, so it was sort of seized. Once we pulled it apart, we actually seen that the brass bush needed a ream, and it had been galled up from the install, which was not us. So we have fixed that up. All new wheel bearings. Dad's gone through and made sure the calipers are good. I did a bit more on there. We'll sand that back now, and then put in the other boxing plate like the other side. But Dad's gone to grab some wheel bearings, grabbed some through the week, but the inners were wrong, so he's gone to go and get some more of those. Also, the U-bolts on this thing, I don't know if you can see that, way too long. So what we've done is we've actually gone and got some new U-bolts and fixed that up. And as you can see down in there, the mess, there are those plates that we made last night. So as I said, what we'll do is I'll finish this side up now while he's going to get wheel bearings. We'll get it rolling again so we can get it under the gantry, slide the motor in, roll it back, lift the front and the back up, put the tail shaft in it. So I've actually got a tail shaft already, so we'll use it, put the tail shaft in it. That'll determine our forward and back position, and then start locking motor and box off from there. So I'm going to do this side, no point me filming it. That side was pretty straightforward. We'll tidy it up a little bit, and then we'll start building engine and gearbox mounts. So I've got the motor back in now, set up on a bit of RHS, just under the sump there. It's a bit hard to see with the sun. Some leaf springs, gives us really good axle clearance. This front sump's going to work really nice. Truck sumps on FEs were actually rear sumped. So, and then the transmission's just supported up with a ratchet strap. Show you inside. Bit of storage unit as well. Up on a ratchet strap, just on a bit of RHS across the floor. So that'll help set the height for the time being. Next step is to get it up on 4 axle stands. We'll put the tail shaft in it that I've got, and then that'll pretty well determine where the motor sits, and we'll start building mounts from there.